On the field, off the field, sports talk, entertainment, and more. This is Sauce on the Side.
Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 65 of the Sauce on the Side podcast. Dippers, as always, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Leighton Pip Shaventone.
The Sox are back.
And sitting into us today, doing our NBA season breakdown. You know him, you love him, from Hump Day Hoops Hysteria, the greatest basketball mind to ever touch Sauce on the Side, Mr. Fletcher Hoyk.
I got some numbers here. It's 27, 22, 33, 31, 32, 31, 29, 29, 34, and to round it out, we got another 29. Do you know what those numbers are?
The numbers I put up in my rec league basketball.
These are Russell Westbrook's season three-point percentages for his career.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, and he just hired a shooting coach in the offseason, and I think he's about 9 years too late.
Wow, that's amazing. Hopefully he hired the same guys who helped Ben Simmons prepare for his jump shot in the NBA.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of Des Bryant finally getting a wide receivers route coach.
Yeah, it's like, where was this like 6 years ago?
Right.
That's awesome. Hopefully Eli Manning can actually find himself a passing coach. That would be interesting to do.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So Dippers, be sure to follow on Spotify, on iTunes, be giving us that 5-star review. Be sure to be subscribing, downloading, rating, 5-star reviews. Check out the FSGN.com, where you can find our podcasts and other podcasts as well if you're a big sports fan and you're looking for more sports podcasts. And be sure to follow on Twitter and Instagram at The Saucy Pod. Guys, we have a very, very good show for you today. We are going to try to diagnose the Giants and the Jaguars. We're going to talk about Coach O and how that man may never lose again. We said it once. Hopefully we don't jinx him twice. We're going to break down our 2 top 25 matchups for this weekend, talk a little bit about both CS series, and we have a little bit of NBA talk. And we have the man in studio to help break those down. So, guys, we'll start it off hot and heavy. Like I'd said, we're going to talk a little bit about the Giants and try to diagnose them. And it was a talk of Thursday night. I think the only guy on the Giants that was not criticized was Saquon Barkley. Popped off for 200 yards. Absolutely killed it. Eli was awful. OBJ fought another sideline prop. I think he's 4-0 against sideline props. Guys, who's to blame for the horrendous start by the Giants?
Well, in my opinion, the fault is threefold. Number one, the defense just looks like they don't want to be out there sometimes. Like, on Thursday night, they do not want to tackle guys. Second, Pat Shurmur has to come up with a better offensive strategy because the O-line has been an issue last season, all year this year. And you have OBJ, who, number one thing he does best is take a slant route for 50-yard, 70-yard, hell-on touchdown. And you got to make the ball hand faster to then get sacked. And third is Eli Manning. You have to be able to go off your first read and OBJ is covered. Drake, you said for a while now, your favorite thing to see when a quarterback loses it physically, being him with the brain between the ears, outsmart him. Eli has to do that. You know, we see quarterbacks all the time, audible out of the sack, get the ball out fast to make reads faster. Eli just has to be able to read the defense before the snap. Okay, OBJ is covered, and when we get hit here by a fucking 300-pound man, get the ball out faster. And Saquon might get hurt. Like, he can't do all of it for him.
All right, so I'm going to put like 90% of the blame on Eli Manning, mainly just because like his offensive line isn't blocking, but Eli Manning, he can't go past his first option. He can't get outside of the pocket and do anything. He's not delivering accurate balls. He's incapable of making plays. And, people kind of jumped down on Odell Beckham for his comments when he had the interview with, I think it was like Josina Anderson. Let's just back up for a second. A few years ago, Peyton Manning got benched for Brock Osweiler, and then this year...
Oh, you be nice to Brock Osweiler. He beat the Bears this weekend.
Bears are fucking good too.
I know, that's a Super Bowl team.
But Odell Beckham, arguably the best receiver in the game, comes out and makes fair, accurate criticisms of Eli Manning, and the whole world just jumps at his throat. And then Eli Manning comes out Thursday night and really just shits the bed for him. I'm putting most of this on Eli. I think if they had Sam Darnold or another competent quarterback back there, that you'd be looking at a really different offense for New York. So the offensive line's tough for sure, but good quarterbacks can overcome bad offensive line play.
Yeah, this one's really tough for me to kind of diagnose. So I was looking at all the stuff, since the Giants really started struggling. It was after that postseason game, whenever they played the Packers, and then all that boat gate, I guess you'd call it, where the picture came out with Eli and all the receivers out in Miami the week whenever they probably should have been getting ready for a postseason game. But since that had happened, OBJ's stats prior to then was 96 yards per game, 0.8 touchdowns per game. And that was on 6.8 receptions per game. After that, he still has 6.7 receptions per game, 77 yards, and half the amount of touchdowns, 0.4. So I don't know what it is. I think that OBJ kind of got himself underneath the microscope, and he's one of these guys that does want to be like in the limelight and all this stuff, but I don't know if he can handle it. I think he's better whenever he's kind of just flying under the radar, not really out there having any of these antics, but that's not the reason why they're losing. One wide receiver gets hurt, your team should not fall off the map. Like, we've never seen that stuff happen. We've seen Tom Brady in the past lose Rob Gronkowski for an extended period of time and still win a Super Bowl. So one wide receiver isn't the difference. I think, Leighton, you hit it right on the head. I think that this kind of shows that Eli Manning isn't like other quarterbacks in the sense that he can read the play before the play has even happened. You look at guys, and I always call where Eli's at right now kind of their prime. We see it with Drew Brees now. We see it with Tom Brady now, where the physical talent is still there. It might have fallen off a little bit, but they have matured so much as a quarterback that they know what's going to happen on a play before the ball is even snapped. And I don't think that Eli has that trait about him, which once the physical talent went away a little bit, he just fell off a cliff. So I think he's in a bad spot. I really don't understand where the Giants were. I understand going out and getting Saquon Barkley because he is so good. But, you look at this team, they are a freaking disaster. And they're getting the ball to OBJ's hands, but it's not in the right situations. So I think that it is a lot to do with the offensive line. I think it's a lot to do with Eli regression and his body not being able to keep up, and his mind isn't so far advanced like other quarterbacks. If you look at him whenever he's sitting on the sidelines, you can tell that. And OBJ is not helping the cause at all. I think they're all to blame. Even Saquon, even as good as he's been, they should treat this team exactly like the Cowboys do with Zeke Elliott. Give him the ball, hand the ball off to him 20 times a game, then start from there. I don't get what's going on with the Giants. They're way too good to be playing this bad. Another team that is kind of in the same situation, they have a ton of talent, but they're really not getting the job done. The Jags, they absolutely got hosed by the Cowboys 40-7. I think we'd all agree that the Cowboys aren't even a good team. So where are we with the Jaguars right now?
Well, the Jaguars right now is tied for lead in the AFC South, and they have the worst quarterback maybe in the NFL. They average a whopping 13.3 points per game. And I don't care how good the defense is. Against an NFL team, the defense is going to give up more than 13 points in most games. And the Jaguars, they're just the ugly football team. I don't know how to describe it. They're just ugly. Like, they don't do anything pretty. They don't have the workhorse back right now. They're hanging on by a thread, it seems like. But, they just got to beat the Texans and the Titans. The Texans are going to win the Super Bowl, so you got to expect the Titans.
I'll tell you what, with the Jags, it's 1 week. Yeah, they got their ass beat, but I'm not going to overreact to it. The offense for Blake Bortles and their kind of unit that they're throwing out there right now was kind of humming for a while. And I just feel like this game was a game where they come back down to earth for a little bit. They Their defense is good. I think this is an outlier performance by Dak Prescott and the Cowboys based on what they have. A huge outlier. Jalen Ramsey had an interception that he dropped deep in Jaguars territory, but the one turnover is not going to influence the outcome of the game. I think what they need is really Leonard Fournette to come back. I think he's kind of the glue or the sauce that kind of holds a lot of things together. He can get their time of possession up. He can give the defense a huge rest. So I think I'm not going to overreact to it. I think once they get Fournette back, it's going to be a big difference for him.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this team. I think Leonard Fournette, he was taken third overall, right?
Third or fourth.
Third or fourth. So you see this team before Leonard Fournette got there, they were absolutely terrible. Even if you have a good defense, if you can't control the clock and do things necessary to help your defense succeed, you're not going to be that good. And then you look at their injury report. I mean, I know guys aren't missing. Some of the guys aren't missing games. A lot are, though. I mean, their injury report from last week, Calais Campbell, Leonard Fournette, DJ Hayden, Malik Jackson, Brandon Lindner, Yannick Ngoku, and Jalen Ramsey. Like, all these guys that are on the injury report are legitimate playmakers. Like, you could make the argument that 5 of their best 10 players showed up on the injury report this past week. So you can't knock them. I know that this is probably the ugliest loss any NFL team has had this season against a very, very mediocre team. But I think once this team gets a little bit healthier, once Leonard Fournette is coming back and he is that premier back, I think they're going to be just fine. I don't think I'm going to hit the panic button on the Jaguars. Now, if they continue to look this bad for even one more game or 2 games, I'm going to be all over that panic button because, I mean, the offense was stagnant, which just causes a lot of problems for your defense, especially if they're going to be out there. Every single time the offense gets the ball back, they throw a turnover. So it's not a good combination right now, what's going on. I think that a lot of these problems are solved, like Fletcher said, once Leonard Fournette is back. So, guys, maybe the craziest – we're going to have quite a few crazy stats, actually, today. The Patriots stay unbeaten against quarterbacks under the age of 25 in Foxborough with Brady and Belichick at the helm. That is unbelievable. That is almost the craziest stat we're going to say today. We saw a good half of Mahomes. We saw a great half of Mahomes. What were your guys' initial thoughts on yesterday's game other than we finally got a good Sunday night football game?
But my first thought was that, like, the game lived up to the hype and somehow exceeded the expectations for Game of the Year. It was awesome conditioning games do that. But in the first half of that game, the Patriots wrote the blueprint on how to beat Kansas City. And Drake, you and I watched and talked about it. They just don't get beat deep and make Kansas City settle for field goals. Because any team's going to be able to put up how many points they want to put up on that Kansas City defense. So all a team has to do is limit Tyreek Hill from getting 60-yard touchdowns, keep anything in front of them, and make them kick 40, 50-yard field goals.
I'll tell you what, with Mahomes, like, he has an amazing arm talent. He has amazing feet talent. He's got really good weapons around him, you know. And then Andy Reid, he's got a great coach in Andy Reid. But the thing that impresses me most about Mahomes is Andy Reid draws these concepts and these formations and these plays up. He puts these really tremendous skill position guys in position to succeed. And Mahomes has the ability to understand that and interpret it and then apply it on the field during the game within the concept of their offense. But then outside of that, what really makes him special is when things go unscripted and he has to kind of ad-lib on the offense. You know, he's really impressive on opening plays, busting plays open, getting out of the pocket, you know. He has those 2 unique abilities. Granted, he has a perfect situation, but he has those unique abilities of applying Andy Reid's schemes within the concept of the offense and then breaking out and ad-libbing, like I said, his own plays when needed. Yeah,
I really am impressed by the Chiefs' offense. In past, I've always kind of said that, you know, the Chiefs are always going to regress back to the mean. They always start off hot. People start to figure out Andy Reid's, style, and they kind of figure out his little gimmicks. But I don't think that this is a gimmick offense anymore because, like you said, Fletch, most of their offensive production, especially in the second half, was Patrick Mahomes ad-libbing. I mean, we are 1 week removed from Patrick Mahomes setting the NFL record from like the last 20 years of passing yards outside of the pocket. So you have a quarterback that can do that, and then you add in those Andy Reid gimmicky plays, and you have all these skill position players. They are good. My biggest takeaway, though, wasn't even the fact that the Chiefs look so good. It's that the Patriots are very, very scary right now. they have Sony Michel. Sony Michel is something else. Like, he is a stud, and he's been something that the Patriots haven't had since probably 2004 with Curtis Martin. He is a legit 3-down back. And since they had Curtis Martin, who was a legitimate 3-down back, the only two people that have rushed for 1,000 yards in that offense with Peyton Manning or with Tom Brady has been Stephen Ridley, who is a total just pass-catching back, kind of a scat back, and LeGarrette Blount, who is the exact opposite. So now they have this 3-down back who's on pace to have 1,200 yards this season, and then you add that in with, an unstoppable force with Rob Gronkowski, a top number one receiver with Josh Gordon and Julian Edelman, who is just a catching machine. This offense, I don't think that we're going to see this offense even stutter throughout the rest of the season. What do you guys think about the Chiefs? So we talk about the Chiefs a lot and how, they always start off hot. Do you think that they're going to regress back to the mean, or do you think this offense is going to be something that's going to stick around for the season?
The offense, it's bound to adjust a little bit. Like, Patrick Mahomes is going to have how many touchdowns they had the first 4, 5, 6 games of the season again, but they got to fix the defense over any chance.
I agree. Their offense is going to put up numbers. Mahomes is going to, at some point, turn the ball over a little bit, making those big plays, getting out of the pocket, fumbles, whatever it may be. You're just going to have turnovers that occur. But, I'm with Leighton. They struggle on defense, and if they have another injury or two to that defense, it's going to be tough sledding for them because they're just going to have to outscore teams, and that's not how you win.
No, I agree. I'm kind of looking at this team to maybe make a move. Like, if there's one team in the NFL that does not need to be complacent and make one move, I would say that it's going to be the Chiefs. I had seen actually report that there's a possibility that Patrick Peterson gets shopped. If you're the Chiefs sitting there and you can shut down an entire side of the field by just acquiring one guy, I feel like you have to do that. Would you guys say that the Chiefs definitely, as far as any team that needs to buy right now and maybe get one of those top-notch defenders that are on a bad team that are maybe rebuilding, do you think the Chiefs are probably on the top of your list there?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Before Earl Thomas broke his leg, the next day it came out that they had a deal basically in place to get Earl Thomas. Obviously, they were Earl Thomas, now he can't walk. But, yeah, they'd be the one team.
I agree. Your offense is loaded. I don't know what you're going to get. You're going to have a good pick probably in the draft, a good pick. Like, you're going to have a good record, so you're not going to have a good pick in the draft. You might as well go out and try and buy some talent, especially getting Mahomes on the cheap like you are.
Yeah, I agree. This is the time that you have to strike if you're the Chiefs. You have so much talent. You just have to get some defense there. So, guys, before we go to NFL word association, I did a little research on Nathan Peterman. Nathan Peterman came in. He was the savior for one series, got a touchdown, and then immediately threw a pick six. His touchdown to pick six ratio in the NFL right now, 3-2 on 79 pass attempts. How unbelievable is that?
That fucking sucks.
He's bad.
Yeah,
why does he go in the game? It doesn't matter how bad Josh Allen does. Unless Josh Allen's dead, why are you fucking putting Nathan Peterman out there?
He got hurt yesterday.
How bad, though?
I didn't have enough to play.
I guess.
Yeah, he threw a ball and then immediately held it.
They only got 2 quarterbacks on the team?
I would have just put LaShawn McCoy back there. I think that's a better
Straight up Wildcat
strategy.
the whole time.
Yes, just Wildcat. You're not going to throw any interceptions. Definitely no pick sixes. So I think that you're better off doing that. Peterman,
you lose? Always, bud.
I love Nathan Peterman. Might be my favorite quarterback in NFL history.
He sucks dick.
So NFL word association, guys, has been a huge one of my favorite things to do. It's pretty fun. So we'll go ahead and recap Week 6 with some word association. So, guys, Week 6, biggest winner.
Cowboys.
I'm going to Chargers. They avoid going 500 and make headway in the division with a KC loss.
I'm actually going to go with quarterbacks playing Nathan Peterman. Biggest loser.
Giants.
Bears.
Bears. Absolutely Bears. Surprise.
Brock Osweiler.
Fucking Adam Thielen, man. He's a machine.
He is a machine. Nathan Peterman threw a touchdown to a wide receiver. That was my surprise.
That is a fucking surprise. He also threw a touchdown to a cornerback or whatever, but that's not very surprising.
No, that would be like on the what did you expect this week? Disappointment.
Bears.
Browns.
Jags. 40-7 to the Cowboys. I don't think anybody should lose the Cowboys that bad. Impact injury.
Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack.
Yeah, absolutely Khalil Mack. WTF moment.
Nathan Peterman played. To add to your stat earlier about Nathan Peterman, in his career he has played in 6 games, thrown 79 passes, and 9 interceptions. He's one of 3 players to do that, and the first since 1965, when Tommy Wade did it.
Tommy Wade. We all know how that career finished. My WTF moment was just the Jags. Like, I bet on the Jags. I started TJ Yeldon, and then the whole thing just shit the bed on me, so...
I'm actually going to go on with Julio Jones being on pace for 1,700 yards and 0 touchdowns. Overreaction.
Chiefs are done.
Baker Mayfield sucks.
The Chiefs are the same team that we've seen every year. Probably going to finish like 9-7 and be out in the first round.
So wait, you think that even though they have a brand new quarterback, all these cool new pieces, not Alex Smith, they're the same team they used to be?
Till Andy Reid does anything different, probably.
Even with
Wonder what's coming next.
Even with a new coordinator?
Oh yeah. Well, now that Matt Nagy's gone, they're definitely toast.
Oh, well, that's a pretty bad thought. Any more thoughts for us?
Yes, actually I do.
It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine.
Jimmy Butler, been a part of 2 postseason series wins, but the T-Wolves, quote, effing need him. Luis Severino still hasn't even started warming up. David Price, greatest postseason pitcher in MLB history. If you don't believe me, ask any Red Sox fan after Game 2. Real quick, here's a list of people who could not take Clayton Kershaw deep in the postseason. Alright, now go ahead and close your eyes for me. Imagine a World Series, Game 7, and David Price and Clayton Kershaw were forced to pitch 9 innings of the game. MLB, you want ratings? I have solved your problem. Coach O, a.k.a. Coach GOAT. Stat of the day. Madison Bumgarner could give up 23 runs and not record a single out and still have a lower postseason ERA than Clayton Kershaw. And there's a new book out this week. It's titled, You Thought You've Seen It All. And it was written by Nathan Peterman. And those have been my thoughts. Alright, guys. So we'll do a little NCAA football talk here. We had an awesome weekend of college football. We were actually one possession away from even a week being wilder. We had 4 top 10 teams go down. We almost had 7. So that's kind of crazy to think about. 3 teams actually escaped by the one possession, like I had said, all to unranked opponents. You had Texas surviving Baylor. UCF outlasted Memphis in an awesome game. And Notre Dame needed a little fourth quarter magic to beat Pitt. Of all of those teams that survived the loss to an unranked opponent, which team should be a little worried about their performance last week?
I'm actually going to go with Texas here. But I know Elko got hurt before playing the game, but they only won by 6 against a Baylor team that's not very good at home. And you got to kind of worry if, did they peak against Oklahoma? I got the best they're going to be all season, because that's not the kind of game you can get in a college football playoff. Not only you got to win games, you have to win games in dominant fashion to where the committee thinks you're going to do that on a national stage, and that's not what you want to show them.
I'm going to go with Leighton. I agree with everything you said, and the thing is, what scares me the most is lingering effects that you could have for the injury for their quarterback, so that could affect them more than just that Baylor game.
Yeah, I'm actually going to make it a clean sweep. I mean, Notre Dame, they were destined to play a close game with Book. Same thing with UCF, they were destined to play a close game as well. But you look at this Texas team, 4 of their 6 wins now have been by 7 or fewer points, and the last 3 weeks have been by a total of 13 points. So I'm not asking for Texas to go out there and just rout opponents, but like at least go out there and make it look comfortable, like kind of, give us just like a cruise to a victory. Don't win by 3 or 4 points every single week. Like, you got to look comfortable winning in order to be a team in the college football playoff. And I just don't think Texas looks like that right now. One team that absolutely does look like an absolute college football playoff team, an absolute powerhouse, LSU, didn't just beat Georgia. They manhandled them, guys. Does this game say more about Georgia or LSU?
I'm going to go with Georgia here. But this is a great win for LSU, and they looked awesome. I'm not saying that Georgia isn't a really good team because they're a great team. This is the first time all year they've really been challenged. Yeah, they played Mississippi State earlier in the season and beat them, but now they played LSU at LSU and got routed, and that's not what you want to see. The kind of Texas, you want to win game in dominant fashion. You don't want to lose to LSU this badly.
I agree with you. I think this is their first real test of what an SEC game is supposed to be like and what that college football playoff atmosphere is supposed to be like, and they went in there and just really got overwhelmed by the moment. I think it says more about Georgia, mainly, though, because I'm not a huge believer in Ed Orgeron. I think Ed Orgeron is really just a gym coach inside the body of a SEC football coach. He's a rah-rah guy. He's not an X's and O's guy. You look at Mike Tomlin, a guy who is his best attribute is that he's a player's coach. When you're not a technician and when you're not an X's and O's guy, that's all Nick Saban is, and that's all he does is win. I just don't see it being sustained success. So I think it says more about Georgia.
I'm actually going with the other side of the coin. I'm going with LSU. This team came out and they thought they were going to do one thing, and they committed themselves to stop the run. I look at Georgia over the last 2 years. They've had 3 games where they were held below 180 rushing yards. All 3 were losses. And I look at Coach O. He basically, told them, like, hey, guys, make Fromm beat you. And in games that Fromm has actually had more passing yards than the team had rushing yards, Georgia's been 2-3 as a football team, so not really good whenever the ball is put in his hands and he is forced to beat you. And all 3 of their losses have come that way. And I look at LSU with Joe Burrow. He is Coach O as a quarterback if I've ever seen one. Like, he was running, like he was making these terrific runs, and he's not really a scrambling quarterback. He was running up and down by the stands, cussing, yelling, getting people pumped up. Like, I think Joe Burrow's my favorite quarterback, maybe my favorite college football player, because, like, Fletch, how you hate the term, like, the look in his eye. Like, yep. Oh, he has the look in his eye. You must have never watched Joe Burrow play football, because this guy is 100% just a look in his eye guy. Like, he's a 53% completion passer on the season. He is complete.
Awful.
That is terrible. But yet he's only thrown 2 interceptions, and he's just been extremely gritty, with the exception of the Florida game, which he kind of let things get off the wagon, which if you're going to play close games in the SEC, you're going to let one go. He's just as gritty as can be, and the only thing that I can take away from him is, yeah, this dude, he does have the look in his eye. So I absolutely love Joe Burrow. I think that he is kind of the quarterback that the LSU needs if they're not going to have a Tua Tagovailoa, which nobody has that other than Alabama. But I think this says a lot about LSU, and I think that this is a team that is going to give Alabama some trouble this season, and it might be the only team that's going to do so. Do you think that LSU stands a chance against Alabama? If Tua is healthy, he did have to come out of last week's game. If he is healthy, do you think they stand a chance?
No.
Man, I'd watch it. I'd definitely watch that game. I think it might be closer than people would think, but I would definitely take Alabama still.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the game of the year. I really do. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully, Coach O gets lifted up and they, celebrating. That would. I think Baton Rouge would completely shut down for like 3 weeks.
I would love to see Nick Saban and Ed Orgeron get into it, like after a game. Like, the game ended kind of not decisively. There were some wishy-washy calls, and everybody was pissed off, and they like exchanged words. Oh, that's what I would look forward to the most.
Oh, absolutely, dude. I feel like Orgeron would pick him up and crush him like a can of Monster.
He'd squeeze Nick Saban into dust.
Another routing we had was Michigan. They basically did the same exact thing that LSU did to Georgia, but to Wisconsin. Guys, is Michigan back?
Do you remember 6 weeks ago when everybody wanted Jim Harbaugh fired?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's why you don't overreact to 1 week in any sport, especially not football. But Michigan back, they're not going to be Ohio State, but they're better than they thought they were going to be. I mean, they'll be in the Rose Bowl probably, so that's good for them, I guess.
I'm just going to go ahead and say they're back, you know. I mean, they played Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a tough defense, and they just beat the shit out of Wisconsin. So I'm gonna say Michigan's back.
Yeah, I agree. Wisconsin had that really weird loss to BYU, but like Wisconsin over the past few years has been as dominant as a football team as there is in the regular season, and Michigan kind of cracked that code. And you look, they did have that really weird close game to Northwestern, but with the exception of that game and the Notre Dame game, they've scored at least 5 touchdowns in all their games, held opponents to under 21 points. Like, this is the Michigan team that I thought we were going to get this year. And I think that Harbaugh escaped that weird game that he always seems to lose in the Northwestern game. And I think that they're going to cruise to the end of the season where we have a top 5 matchup of Ohio State and Michigan. And I think that's what college football really needs at this point. How awesome would that be, though? In the same season, we got a top 5 matchup of LSU versus Alabama and a top 5 matchup of Ohio State and Michigan.
That'd be pretty cool. I mean, I watch them.
Yeah, I'd probably watch those games too. I think they'd be pretty good. So Oregon actually got the marquee win that they needed for this season. Mario Cristobal has everything firing on all cylinders with Justin Herbert. Do you think that if Oregon is able to run the table, are they the only hope that the Pac-12 has of getting into the college football playoff?
I don't think it matters if they're on the table or not. I don't think any Pac-12 team has a chance at all, actually, and here's why. Right now, Oregon had 1 loss, and they're ranked 12. Here are all the 1-loss teams ranked ahead of them. Texas, Michigan, LSU, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Florida. If the undefeated team loses, then they're still going to be ahead of Oregon. And the undefeated team will probably lose to one of those teams I just named. So it's hard to see Oregon get ahead of them whenever Oregon's schedule doesn't give them another chance to get a big win like that. But kind of Michigan, Oregon will be happy in the Rose Bowl.
If Oregon runs the table, I think they are pretty much the lone shot out of the Pac-12. But they're going to have to do it in pretty convincing fashion. They're going to have to beat a lot of ass out there to get recognition. And this is West Coast teams, they always get punished like this. You see it in the college basketball, the March Madness tournament. The teams out west who aren't in the primetime TV slots in the central time zone and the East Coast time zone, they kind of get punished. A lot of people don't get to watch them, and so I think for that reason it's going to be tough for Oregon to get in. But they're going to have to run through the Pac-12, and they're going to have to do it pretty convincingly to get in.
Yeah, I think the fact that they dominated that Stanford game up until the very, very end kind of does help them. I mean, they're seriously, if they would have just taken knees on that last drive and then punted the ball away with 4 seconds left, they would still be undefeated at this moment. So I think that the committee will take that into consideration a little bit, but they seriously have to run the table because you're looking at the only other teams with 1 loss in that conference are Colorado and Washington State. Neither one of those teams have a prayer to make it into the college football playoff, even if they do run the table. I think Oregon, being, having success in the past, being in the championship game before, does kind of have that pedigree. So the committee will take that into consideration, which they probably shouldn't. But if they run the table and they do it in convincing fashion, I think they have a good as chance as anybody. So, guys, we actually have 2 top 25 matchups this weekend. Both have huge conference ramifications. One in the Big Ten, one in the ACC. We'll start it off hot and heavy. The battle for Michigan. Michigan State coming off of a huge win over Penn State. And Michigan coming off of a huge win as well against Wisconsin. 24-6. Michigan is a 6.5-point favorite. Who do we like in this game?
I'm going to take Michigan on the road. They're not cover the spread, but I'm going to take them.
So wait, is it at Michigan or at Michigan State?
It is. It is at the Big House.
Is that Michigan State?
It is at Michigan State?
Yes.
Oh, well, I was wrong there.
Okay, well, either way, I'm still taking Michigan. Michigan comes off the huge win or against Wisconsin, and Wisconsin has a really tough defense. It's ranked really well. I think Harbaugh is just going to keep him humming, and if I said Michigan's back and then I pick him to lose, I'm going to look like a real dumbass. So I'm picking Michigan to win this game, and I'm picking Michigan to cover the spread on top of it.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty convincing win for Michigan. I think that Michigan State had their biggest win last week. I don't think they're going to have a win as big as what they did against Penn State. So I'm going with Michigan in pretty convincing fashion. I could see this one getting out of hand late in the third quarter. So an ACC matchup of undefeated teams. We have number 16 NC State playing number 2 Clemson. Clemson actually opens as a 17-point favorite. Guys, where are we at in this game? Who do you think is going to win?
I'm thinking Clemson for sure, but I'm excited to see if NC State is just actually for real or just a total pretender.
Yeah, I'm taking Clemson in this game. I think this is going to be a really good game. I like these two teams here, but I'm taking Clemson to win, but I'm definitely not taking them in the spread. So
I think this game's going to be really close. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I've watched a lot of Clemson this year, and NC State, they have a quarterback that could potentially be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, and that's Ryan Finley. The guy is an absolute stud. Both teams are coming off of a bye week. The thing that scares me about Clemson, everybody wants to talk about that front seven and how they have, 6 or 7 guys that are going to be in the NFL. But the back end of that defense makes me question them a lot. I mean, I watched the game against Texas A&M, and Kellen Mond, who's not a great passer, threw for 430 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He kind of dominated that game, even though Texas A&M did end up losing on a very controversial call. And I look at NC State. They may have the best receiving core in the ACC, definitely most seasoned. I mean, they have their top 3 guys back from last season. I'm actually going to go with NC State with an upset. I think this is going to be kind of the time that everybody learns about Ryan Finley. Now, I do think top to bottom, Clemson has a better team, but I've seen it time and time again in college football that a team can dominate for a certain amount of time, but as soon as the better quarterback rears his ugly head, that team's back into the game and ends up winning it. So I'm actually going to go with Ryan Finley. I think this is going to be Clemson's toughest game to date, and I'm going to actually pick NC State in the upset. So, guys, do you have any top 25 teams on upset alert? There wasn't a ton of close games that look to be out there, but do you have any that could be on upset alert this week?
Me, closest one I have is Oregon going to Washington State. Washington State looks pretty tough all season. I think Oregon's will pull it out. Washington State's actually a 1-point favorite, so I don't go with them.
I'm taking Mississippi State to upset LSU. I talked about Ed Orgeron. I think he's a gym coach trapped inside a SEC coach's body. I think he's kind of flying above the radar right now. He's overperforming on what he is. Mississippi State, they beat Auburn on October 6th. They beat them pretty convincingly. They're coming off a bye. I think they're going to be really ready for LSU, and I'm taking Mississippi State to upset LSU.
I actually wouldn't be surprised about that one. I do like Mississippi State. I've said that they're the 3rd best team in the SEC. I think a lot about Nick Fitzgerald.
It's at LSU too, and the thing is, LSU isn't even favored by a touchdown, so that's why I'm big on Mississippi State as well.
Mine's actually going to surprise you guys, and I think you're going to think that this is a pretty homer pick, but I would not put my back-to-back winners in jeopardy. 2 weeks ago, I picked the Mississippi State upset. Last week, I got one with Iowa State beating West Virginia, so I'm going to try to make it a three-peat here. And I'm going with Purdue.
I knew you were going to say that.
Beating Ohio State. I really, really think that this is a good possibility. Purdue, they come in, they have the better passer with David Blau. Their coach, Jeff Brom is an absolute stud of a head coach. And this is going to be two explosive offenses. Ohio State against the spread has not been that great in West Lafayette. I'm looking at a Purdue team, 510 yards of offense per game. That's only 40 less than Ohio State. I don't think Haskins is a great passer. He does have phenomenal stats, but most of them have been coming off of the screen pass. I mean, you just need to watch the Penn State game to learn that. I mean, it was just a ton of screen passes. I think that if Purdue doesn't necessarily have to stop Ohio State, but they have to slow them down enough, and I think Purdue is going to get some points. They're going to be able to put up points. I think they're going to be able to keep pace with them. I mean, Purdue has 3 wide receivers that are on pace for 400 yards this season, or 800 yards this season, so they have legitimate pass catchers. I'm picking Purdue to pull the upset against Ohio State. So, guys, lock of the week. What is your lock bet of the week?
That goes right against Buster, but I'm going to go with LSU. That's 6.5 point favorite at home. Mississippi State's a tough team, but LSU's got off a huge win against Georgia. I think they'll carry momentum over and beat Mississippi State by a touchdown or 2.
So wait a sec, you're picking LSU?
Minus 6.5, yep.
Wow. Because I'm picking Mississippi State.
Oh, okay, bitch.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win. I don't think Mississippi State's going to win by a touchdown, but I bet they win by a field goal.
You want to fight about it?
I might have to.
Now, you guys could just probably bet each other on that one. That way it'd just be easier. That way we won't have to go through a bookie. My lock bet is actually, I gave Purdue and NC State. Those are really nice underdog picks, but my lock bet of the week is going to be Oregon. I mean, a 1.5 underdog to Washington State. They don't. All they have to do is win, and they're a much better team, much better quarterback. I think that's the lock bet of the week. So, guys, before we move on to some darts, we're going to bring back the shittiest take of the week. So, guys, Fletch, what was your shittiest take of the week?
I got a good one. I listen to Colin Cowherd almost every day, and I tell you what.
You probably have a lot of stuff to choose from.
He's honestly, I think when it comes to talking on the radio, I think he's probably the best there is, and his analogies are really good. The problem, or the times he gets himself in trouble, is when he starts ad-libbing, and then when he starts talking about fantasy football. And he did both at the same time, like last Wednesday or Thursday, and it was good. He was talking about the blueprint for success in the NFL, and he's talking about, well, you got to get your head coach right. You get a good head coach, and you're locked in. Well, duh, that's an obvious. You always want a good head coach. But then, Cowherd's shtick is like the thing he does. He makes up these arguments pretending to be other people arguing with himself. So he goes, well, look at the Rams. They got Sean McVay. He changed that offense around, and now they're humming and clicking on all cylinders. And then he switches to be this pretend guy who's arguing with himself. And he goes, well, Colin, they're paying everybody. And then his rebuttal to the argument as himself is, really? Do you have Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Brandon Cooks on your fantasy roster? Well, yeah, we got all 3 of those guys, and then on top of that, the Rams are paying Brandon Cooks $80 million, so you just destroyed your own argument.
Good job, Colin.
I absolutely love Cowherd's takes, especially whenever he does. I call it Will Caning. Whenever a guy starts arguing with himself, because Will Kane is like a solo guy, basically like a solo panel. And he has to argue with himself, and he has like 15 different personalities. So whenever Colin Cowherd does that, I love to call it like Will Caning.
He did this once before with before the season started. He was talking about Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson, how good they are. And he goes, I know all you millennials out there might not want to have Russell Wilson or Dak Prescott on your fantasy teams, but they're good on actual football teams. It's like, yeah, before the season started, like everybody would have taken both of those guys. And after this week, people probably want Dak Prescott too, so...
That drives me nuts. I love Cowherd. He always makes an appearance on this segment, so we got to give him a round of applause for that.
Oh, shit.
My shit take of the week, it actually goes from back a week. This TV personality, broadcaster, whatever he is in Philadelphia, said that the Philadelphia Eagles weren't playing well. Remember, this is before the Thursday night game. Weren't playing well because they were having too much sex. And the Eagles need to cut sex just out of their lives because it, quote, it fogs your brain and distracts you. I feel like it clears your mind. And this thing that you'll be thinking about doing a football game. But you know what? I could be wrong because they had a short week. Only 3 days. They might be have sex in 3 days. You're Philadelphia Eagle player, and they just housed the Giants.
You know what? You should have called into that radio show and asked that guy if his side hustle was being a fucking like youth minister for a church or something like that, or if he's an abstinence teacher.
That one absolutely blows my mind because how in the world does he know this? Like, does he have like any inside knowledge to that? Like, is he doing investigative journalism on that?
Well, I mean, he's in his 40s or 50s. He's probably had sex before, and maybe he's having sex. He just can't think of anything else but that. So
here's the thing.
Celibate?
Here's the thing. The Raiders got their ass pretty much just smoked over in London. And, I mean, they got beat badly as a team altogether. And then there was that one fucking guy, I can't remember his name now, plays for the Raiders. I saw it on
Bruce
Bleacher Report.
Irvin,
he goes, when I get home, I'm going to go ahead and, see my beautiful wife and maybe try to make some kids. You can make the argument that if he had sex before they went over there, they might not have got fucking destroyed.
He'd been less stressed, less uptight, more loose, more active, ready to go.
Yeah.
That's all. I want to get those two. I want to get that reporter, and I want to get Bruce Irvin in a room and just have them debate that argument like Skip and
Shannon.
Skip and Stephen A. I want it to be like that exact setup. Put them on that same exact panel and just let them go at it. That'd be an all-time debate. Mine is actually I'm just going to relive the last one that I gave you and kind of update you on how shitty this take was. Cowherd a few weeks ago came out and said that Michigan and Texas were not football schools. And just to update you on that, both teams have since knocked off multiple top 25 programs, and they have both not lost a game, and they are both ranked in the top 7 of the country. So, Colin, great take. I'm glad we got to update on everybody on that.
Yeah, no shit.
So, guys, we'll play a little dart.
Pew, 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 pew. We're playing darts, baby.
For all of you out there that aren't familiar with darts, basically each one of us will throw a dart at the dartboard, and it'll land on a certain number. Each number represents something. And Leighton, what is our game for today?
Backed by a popular demand from one of our valued listeners, we have team or celebrity deathmatch and we'll play off edition. But
I absolutely love this one.
Mix it up this week.
Which edition?
And it'll be playoffs. But this week
Okay.
we're bringing back our 3 previous champions with a new competitor.
Ooh, I love it. I can't wait to get Cece back on here. So basically, we will each throw 2 darts, and we will debate who would win in a celebrity deathmatch fight. Leighton, producer, your throw.
The first competitor will be going against George Springer. We have an 8. An 8 is Aaron Judge. Okay, well, I'll give Springer short and sweet. Aaron Judge has every physical advantage in the world. He's also just a better baseball player. I feel like
I don't know if that correlates to fighting though. So
I don't think it does.
he can swing a bat harder.
Hey, it correlates between sex and playing well in football.
yes, it does.
But yeah, Aaron Judge, he's 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", 250 pounds, just mammoth of a human being. I'm gonna take Aaron Judge in this one. Heavy favorite.
You're right. Aaron Judge has all the physical attributes, everything in the world. But I look at Aaron Judge and I look at George Springer, and one's got a little shit dog in him, one's got a little fucking dirtbag in him, and that's George Springer. Aaron Judge, too much of a pretty boy. Sure, he's big and all that, but George Springer, he's got that dirtbag in him. I think he'll fucking cheat to win, and I'm taking George Springer.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to piggyback on you, Fletch. So I look at these two guys, and I look at Aaron Judge. Maybe if you'd asked me this question 3 months ago, I would have had to disagree with you. But yes, Aaron Judge does have all the physical attributes needed to win in a fight. But George Springer is the ultimate definition of grit. I mean, you look at this dude, like, when he gets into the postseason, when everything's on the line, when the most matters, this guy figures out a way to get the job done. So I think under the bright lights, in a big scenario like this, I think George Springer goes in there and does everything he needs to win. He might take his lumps early on, get down, but I mean, we saw a team hold a candlelight vigil for this dude in Aaron Judge whenever all he did was hurt his wrist. So I'm going all in on George Springer. I think George Springer mops him probably in the 4th round.
Also, championship fight.
Yes, championship style fight.
Okay. So we have Springer
So-
beating Aaron Judge.
All right, Fletch, your throw. Leighton, who's this guy going up against?
This Nick I would go up against CC Sabathia.
Look,
We have a 3. A 3 is Evan Gaddis.
oh my goodness,
Is this the guy for the Astros who used to be a fucking janitor?
that's him.
He
The guy who
pulled-
looks like he could rip up tree stumps out of his backyard.
This
Yep.
is the guy who bats with no gloves on.
Yes.
Yes.
I should tell you all you need to know about this one. CC Sabathia, he might be a bad hombre, and he's a drinker, so he's a fighter. But I'm going Evan Gaddis on this one. You look at that motherfucker; he's just one bad dude. Vlad Guerrero was a bad dude. You know that dude came up from a rough time when he fucking made it to the major league and said, "I still don't need batting gloves." And I look at the same thing even more with Evan Gaddis. Evan Gaddis would fucking beat CC Sabathia's ass.
Yeah, Evan Gaddis for workouts. I've heard, rumor has it, he actually fights elephants in his backyard by the tusks. He grabs them, and starts slinging them around the backyard.
I would not be surprised.
I mean, and CC, we talked about last week, he did drunk, a whole lot of bars. He definitely been in some fights, take a punch for sure.
He can take a punch.
But
This isn't any fucking punch he's taking here.
no,
This is an Evan Gaddis punch.
this is like a punch from a god almost. A guy who freaking beats up elephants, pulls two down with his hands. But he probably had a jaw of iron. Yeah, this is Evan Gaddis.
Yeah, I honestly think that if you put Evan Gaddis against anybody in the MLB, he's going to win that fight. I think CC would probably be his toughest test in the MLB. I mean, we talked about it last week. I mean, the guy, if you hang around bars enough, like CC Sabathia, you're going to be in some scraps. CC has probably been in plenty of scraps, but I look at Evan Gaddis. The guy's legs are like the size of Michael Turner's. Remember the NFL running back that had like 32-inch legs? That is Evan Gaddis. And you have to be a little crazy to play the catcher position anyways. And then on top of that, to be Evan Gaddis, you have to be really, really crazy. So you mix those two things together, you probably have the craziest guy in the MLB. I am going with Evan Gaddis and like probably a 10-second knockout.
Wow. Quick look.
Yeah, it would be domination. Evan Gaddis
I just pulled up a stat on Evan Gaddis when it comes to fighting. He actually knocked out one dude. He hit him so hard in the mouth that he went deaf.
I would not be surprised on that.
So that's all you need to know about this fight.
So clean sweep, Evan Gaddis.
Unanimous.
Evan Gaddis is going to beat this motherfucker until like the end of time.
Do you think that he's the toughest guy in the MLB?
Toughest? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think that's pretty easy.
I don't know. Matt Carpenter has the salsa, though.
McCollum has this also.
There's no way.
Our final champion from last week is Yasiel Puig. He will go up against. We have a number 11, Javier Baez.
Ooh, this one's tough.
Thank you for
No,
your
it's
throw, so take it away.
Javier Baez, I would imagine that he is tough. I look at Javier Baez being basically the much, much smaller Yasiel Puig. I think he's scrappy. I think he's I would almost guarantee that Javier Baez is a very, very tough dude. But the fact that Yasiel Puig, what did we look at it last week? He's 245 pounds with not an ounce of fat on him.
Yeah.
I take back what I said earlier as CC being Evan Gaddis' toughest test. I would imagine that it would probably be Yasiel Puig. And for that simple fact alone, not even Javi Swag can pull him through this fight. He might get more tags and more cool stuff than Yasiel Puig, but whenever it comes to just a celebrity death match, I think Yasiel Puig runs away with this.
Yeah, I compare Baez to what we talked about Altuve last week and how Altuve was going to be able to throw way more punches, way more kicks, move way faster than an opponent. But in the end, Yasiel Puig, like, you see that guy's freaking forearms?
Oh, yeah.
The size of my legs.
I've seen him shirtless, man. I know what he's looked like.
Whoa.
Yeah.
He's on a Sports or Illustrated cover before.
Ooh.
Yeah, if you're that big of a dude that you're a baseball player and, like, you're on the Sports Illustrated cover, being shirtless, just jacked, like, you have to be unbelievably huge if you're a baseball player to do that.
Yeah, but like I said last week, bigger guys going in the fight. Yasiel Puig, just freak of a human being. He's going to beat Javier Baez in this fight.
I would not want to see Javi fight him because I do not know if Javi would ever be able to play another game in baseball.
He wouldn't be able to, probably.
For me, Yasiel Puig has a lot of the same characteristics for Aaron Judge. Big dude, strong dude. He's got the pretty boy factor going on. But Yasiel Puig has the X factor going on, and it seems like he has his side where, like, if he gets pushed too far, he turns temperamental and just goes psycho and gets so pissed off that he just blacks out. And I feel like if that happened in a fight, he would just completely erase Javier Baez. So yeah, I'm going Yasiel Puig.
Yeah, I think Yasiel. So we were all in agreement that Evan Gattis is probably the toughest guy in the MLB. Second toughest would probably be Yasiel Puig.
Dude, I'd love to watch those two fight.
Yeah,
that'd be a good one.
That'd be a good fight to have.
If the UFC wants to increase their pay-per-view buys on a card that Conor McGregor's not on, throw them in there. First fight of the night on the pay-per-view. I guarantee you will hit 1 million buys.
Table match.
Safe bet.
So, just Leighton, give us a roundup on that.
All right, so on our first bout of the night, we have George Springer winning 2-1 against Aaron Judge. Then we have Evan Gattis unanimously slaying CC Sabathia. And then we have Yasiel Puig absolutely annihilating Javier Baez once again unanimously.
You might as well just have Puig and Gattis fight each other next week just because, I mean, they're both going to be in there for a long time probably.
You know what? I might be able to set that up.
You might be able to.
You might be able to set that up. I think we do need to have that discussion. If those two teams do meet in the World Series, I think that if it goes to a Game 7, I think Game 7 should just be that fight. Like, put them out there in the middle of Minute Maid.
The whole field's your ring. You get all the fucking tools you want.
Yes.
All the tools you want.
Bats, balls, gloves, cleats.
That would be the highest rated World Series of all time, hands down. So, guys, that'll segue us perfect to some MLB chatter. So both championship series are knotted up 1-1. So we can say the old adage, we have a 2 Game 5 series, and the lower seed has home field advantage. Leighton, how sweet was it that David Price finally got that his team, he didn't pick up the win, but his team finally got a win in one of his starts?
Oh, well, like you said, Ruben Schroeder had David Price gone like 6 innings and gave up 2 runs, not 4 and 4 2/3. But it's like David Price said after the game, it's not about him, it's about the Red Sox. He just wants to win. Last night going to that game, I didn't think there's any chance in hell we would win that game. I mean, they get Coleman out, he was doing all season. David Price has been awful in the postseason in his career. I think no way we were going to win the game. They gutted it out, and we tied 1-1, and we had to win that one. We couldn't be down 2-0 going back to Houston. That wasn't going to work.
Is it not the most... Okay, so I said that we had one unbelievable stat so far. This is our second unbelievable stat. David Price being 0 for 9 in postseason games is maybe the craziest baseball stat I've ever heard in my life. And I even told you yesterday before that game, I said, Leighton, you guys will win. I said, when David Price first became a stud in the MLB, if I looked you in the eyes and said, his team will lose his first 10 postseason starts, you would tell me that there's no possible way. So there was no way that they were going to lose yesterday. Absolutely no way. Everything works its way out. Fletch, how crazy do you think that that's probably the craziest MLB stat you've ever heard?
No, because when I was a kid, SportsCenter would pull fucking stupid baseball stats out of their ass, like Albert Pujols hitting with a full moon or something like that, But that is, it's kind of crazy to think about that David Price can go that many fucking games before he has to get his first postseason win, though.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. And David Price is kind of that outlier of a pitcher that you look at a guy like Matt Harvey, whenever they wanted to put him in the pen, he was like, absolutely no, absolutely not, absolutely not, I'm not doing it. A lot of pitchers are that way. But, like, David Price, anytime they've said, hey, man, like, you're not doing too well, we're going to move you to the bullpen, he's the first guy to be like, all right, yep, I'm all in, whatever we need to do to win. So it kind of really sucks that he is the guy that has went 0 for 9, finally picking up a win in his 10th start. Kind of crazy. So the other pitcher for my Game 7, hopefully at least, in the World Series, Clayton Kershaw. Guys, 3 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, and an unforgivable home run to a pitcher. Just when we thought that he had it figured out last week, he came back to his postseason reality. Do you think that this is Clayton Kershaw? Do you think that his lack thereof postseason success is, what we're going to know Clayton Kershaw as, or do you think that it's just an outlier and things will right itself?
See?
He found himself a new daddy.
Yes, he did. And it happened to be a relief pitcher.
I know.
See, without Clayton Kershaw, compared to David Price, for a long time, actually, great regular season pitcher, not going in the postseason. But David Price should never been talked about as being, maybe the greatest pitcher of all time, and Clayton Kershaw has. And this is Clayton Kershaw, 9th, 10th star postseason now? And he's had maybe 2 or 3 good ones. I think this is just going to be what he is in October. And, you talk about with David Price, Drake, it's just between the ears with him. He still has his stuff he had all season long. It's just mental. He's missing location. He's missing his spots. And he's just really getting crushed.
They were hitting him. But I will say that the catcher, when Kershaw was pitching, that catcher definitely fucked him. I feel like Cappy could have at least done as good a job as that guy was doing.
Yeah, Kershaw, man. Do you think that he could go down as a top 10 pitcher of all time if this is his postseason run?
No.
I think he's still can. I listened to Tim Cookerson today on the Most Only podcast, and they're talking about how Greg Maddux for a long time didn't have great postseason success. And the only way he ended up having postseason success, he ended up posting 14 straight years. He's on the Braves, and the Braves were amazing. But he got 1 or 2 games, so his ERA isn't that bad. But he had postseasons where he, had above 10 ERA, had 5 ERAs. And Greg Maddux, you can argue him be top 10 for sure.
Well, it won't happen because, today we have the social media era. Everybody can form an opinion. He's under a microscope. He's going to get scrutinized. And he's a repeat offender when it comes to this. So it's only gonna magnify and accumulate for the rest of his career.
I think you're probably right there because, Greg Maddux, he had the kind of the fallback plan of, nobody's going to remember this because they'll never make a meme out of it. And Clayton Kershaw will always be on him. I even saw a post of all the home runs that he's given up to pitchers and his immediate reaction after. That was a thing. So it was 5 different pictures of Clayton Kershaw with his immediate reaction to the home runs given up to a pitcher, and a relief pitcher in the postseason, not a great look.
No.
So, guys, Dodgers, Sox, Dodgers, Astros, Astros, Brewers, or Sox and Brewers. What are we going to be breaking down next week?
Sox and Brewers. Sox in 7, Brewers in 6. It sucked. The Brewers had Game 2 locked up, then Justin Turner just threw it to the Cubs last year and hit a home run and they didn't get it back to him. But we're going to go to LA, I think, to take 1 or 2 and then finish out in LA. The Red Sox are going to win both games in Houston and then lose back-to-back, win Game 7.
I agree with you. I think the Red Sox are going to win in 7, and I think the Brewers could win in 6 or 7, but I think Red Sox are just a better team, and the Brewers are just unbelievably hot right now, and they're playing well. I think top to bottom, too, that they're still just better than the Dodgers are at this moment in time. So I'm going the Red Sox and Brewers.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go straight with that, too. I think the Brewers, or the Red Sox, are just the best team, and the Brewers are the team of destiny, quote-unquote. So I think that's what we're going to be matched up for our World Series breakdown. I think that would make a pretty awesome World Series, honestly. So, guys, in case you're not familiar with it, we're going to go to a segment called Fletch on the Fly. It originally became a thing on Hump Day Hoops Hysteria, which is on every Wednesday. Fletch is going to get his moment to kind of pipe that into your ears and give you a little bit of insight on what goes down on there. But Fletch on the Fly, basically, Leighton asked Fletcher 3 questions. Fletcher does not know what the questions are prior to the show, and Fletch kind of has to dig himself out of the hole after Leighton gives it to him. So, Leighton, what are your questions for this week?
Today we have 1 NFL question and 2 NBA questions.
Good.
We'll start with the NFL question. Through 6 weeks, who is the NFL MVP?
Oh, damn. The NFL MVP? I think you got to go Patrick Mahomes, man.
You think so?
Got crazy
not
numbers.
Todd Gurley?
You're catching me here. Yeah, no, not Todd Gurley.
I'm
going Patrick Mahomes. I got to go Patrick Mahomes.
Jake, do you want to give your opinion real quick?
Ooh, this one's tough. I said Alex Smith last year. They're posting pretty similar numbers.
At this point in the season.
Yeah, at this point in the season, it almost has to be Patrick Mahomes. I would say, though, I think Todd Gurley should be the MVP, but because what Todd Gurley is doing is ridiculous. Like you take Patrick Mahomes off of the Chiefs, and you replace him with a guy like Alex Smith. Alex Smith did it last year. He posted great numbers. You take Todd Gurley off the Rams. I don't think another running back in the NFL could do what Todd Gurley's doing, especially coming right off of a game where he had a 200-yard running performance. I would go with Todd Gurley. He's doing things that we've never seen from a running back before. I would go with him, though. But that one's a close one. That one's super close.
All right, now to NBA questions. As we all know, the NBA is a very star-driven league, way more than any other sport. So, Fletcher, what player will become a star this season?
What player will become a star?
Yeah, superstar. Huge player.
What player will become a superstar? I think Kyle Kuzma is going to become a legitimate superstar this year.
Whoa.
Wow.
Okay.
No, I think he will.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to do a little follow-up on that. A lot of people think that Brandon Ingram is going to be the guy who's going to benefit the most from LeBron being there. Why do you differ and say it's going to be Kuzma?
I already talked about it some, but Brandon Ingram, he made a huge jump in his second year, but he's a little thin. He's had some injury issues. If I were him, I would intentionally keep the weight off me just to avoid any foot problems. Kevin Durant has avoided the foot problems with keeping the weight off of him. But the reason there's a threat for injury, but Kyle Kuzma just played better. In Kyle Kuzma's first year, he did what Brandon Ingram did in his second year. So I think if you look at that same progression, that Kyle Kuzma is going to lap him this year. And why I think that is Kyle Kuzma did 3 days all summer, spent time with Kobe Bryant, really worked on his game. So if you're in the gym that much and if you put up 3 times more of the shots than anybody else, like you're just bound to get better. And he's already really good. So playing next to LeBron with more possessions, I think Kyle Kuzma is going to have a breakout year big time.
Oh, so he's been training with Kobe, so it looks like LeBron's looks will be going down. Don't expect the Vol King.
He the first week or two that he took off from the off season, he apparently just broke down film with Kobe Bryant the whole time, and they say he picked his brain, but you can't only tell a guy to do a 3 a day throughout the whole fucking summer so many times. I don't know what you're meeting with a guy 2 weeks for. Well, I worked out 3 times a day and I got good, so why don't you do that? Okay, you want to meet tomorrow? For what? I just told you what to do. I just explained it.
I imagine that. What's that show that Kobe Bryant has?
Detail.
I feel like it would just be 2 weeks of that, where Kobe's just talking to himself and breaking down the film. It's just live action. That would be.
Kyle Kuzma's hey man, I thought we were watching my film. We keep watching your 35-point game season film.
Yes, I love it. The only time I ever watched Detail, I fell asleep during it. So I'm surprised he did not fall asleep during that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, before that question, he hadn't watched Detail, but when you just cannot fall asleep, turn that shit on. You will go to sleep real quick.
Yes.
But our last question. I can't touch on the fly. Taking on the thing of stars, what superstar will be a bust this season?
DeMarcus Cousins.
Okay.
Ooh.
What superstar is going to play the whole season will be a bust this season?
He's going to bust when it matters, and that's in the postseason, I think. Who's going to be a bust during the season? Fuck. That's a good question. Let me think. Bust during the regular season. I think Chris Paul is going to miss significant time to injury, so I think that might be the bust of the season, but we'll see.
Real quick, why do you think DeMarcus Cousins is not going to succeed when it matters?
Well, DeMarcus Cousins is coming off an injury, so they're going to use the last part of the season there after the All-Star break to really kind of get him going in gear. And if all signs are go and he's going in gear, it could be really good. But at the same time, he could get really pissed off that he might get when you saw him when you saw the Warriors play against the Houston Rockets. They didn't play a center. They basically just threw Iguodala out there and played 5 wide the whole time. And then when Iguodala went down and got hurt, you saw their offense kind of struggle. So if they ever decide to utilize a matchup that has 5 out with 5 forwards out there, he could be the odd man out. And then when he comes back in, he could try to force things. It could lead to issues that make him get pissed off and struggle on offense or defense. And then Draymond Green and Kevin Durant will be quick to snap at him, I'm sure, and that could just snowball and explode. So.
Yeah, I could honestly see that. The way I've always looked at the Warriors is that you have Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson, and then the other dudes on the court have always been just super grit guys with Iguodala and Draymond, and I don't think that DeMarcus Cousins is the last thing from Grit. So I could actually see that happening. I like that. So that actually segues us nice to talk about the NBA. It's the moment we've all been waiting for since Fletch is on today. The NBA season actually begins tomorrow, and Hump Day Hoops Hysteria is back. Go ahead and tell the listeners exactly what Hump Day Hoops Hysteria is and what they can expect on Wednesdays from you.
Well, we're real big on high school basketball with Hump Day Hoops Hysteria. We're trying to get into the meat and grind of all high school basketball season, so listen in for that. We're big on the Hoosiers. I'll quote that weekly for you. No, I'm kidding. We're big on. We're going to try to stick to the NBA this year. I want to do a college basketball preview, and you know, when things get big with college basketball, they start off with big tournaments and stuff. Once conference play gets going, maybe conference tournament time, seeding stuff. That's when we'll dip into college basketball, but I'm really looking forward to a good NBA season this year, so I think that's probably what we're going to stick with the most.
All right. I know it's one of my favorite things to listen to, and if you don't know exactly what's going on in basketball games, if you're just a casual NBA fan, which I would kind of lump myself into that, I may watch a little bit more NBA than the actual casual fan, but if you don't know any idea about X's and O's, Fletch is your man. He doesn't tell you who's going to do good. He tells you why they're going to do good, which is the best thing about the show. So probably the craziest thing that happened this week in the NBA was Jimmy Butler apparently called out everybody in the state of Minnesota, but basically directed his anger at Cat and Andrew Wiggins. Fletch, you probably know a little bit more about the situation than me. Kind of talk us through that and what had happened in Minnesota.
Well, I think at this point everybody kind of knows what happened more or less. He did get into it also with the front office. I can't remember their GM's name off the top of my head, but he also directed some of his frustration at Thibodeau and the GM, told him you fucking need me and all this stuff. But, I kind of like seeing that out of Jimmy Butler. He's 30 and he's hurt, and I'm not so sure I would trade for him, but I like seeing that fire, I mean, it reminds me of the big bad kid on the block. If you keep, tugging at Superman's cape, he's going to have to respond, And he took the third stringers apparently and just beat everybody. He guarded Cat, he guarded Wiggins, and nobody wanted anything to do with him. And the fact that he beat their ass soundly is when, last week, 2 days after it happened, Wiggins said, when we take the court against actual other teams, Jimmy Butler is a guy I want. I think that was kind of the response that Jimmy Butler was wanting and kind of needing. So I think that shows everything that happened was true. The fact that Wiggins would say that, because, he must have really put those dudes in their place for him to want to say that. But I was watching, I can't remember if it was The Jump. I can't remember what it was now, but Stan Van Gundy was on there, and he was talking about Jimmy Butler, and he said the whole Jimmy Butler thing is just about money. I think that's the farthest thing that this is about money. He can get a whatever his max contract is, he can fucking get that from any poorly run team. I think he's wanting those younger guys to take shit seriously, and he might not get along with Tom Thibodeau that great either. So I think the last thing that this concerns is money or contract or anything like that.
No, I agree with you there, because Jimmy Butler's been a guy who's never been in the media. Right. I think I could honestly stake this claim. I would say that the majority of NBA fans have probably never even heard Jimmy Butler speak until this last month.
Yeah.
He's always flown under the radar. How much of a power move was it, though, that he called Rachel Nichols and told her that he was ready for his one-on-one, basically right before he went out there and just dominated the whole front, the whole ones. He gets on the phone, basically on the way into practice, says, "Hey, I'm ready for my interview," goes in there, completely dominates the ones with the third stringers, and then walks right off the court and does his interview. That's the ultimate NBA power move.
Yeah. What it reminds me of when I play basketball now, I'm pretty passive, and I just try to rebound and stuff like that, block some shots and maybe cherry pick and get a dunk or something. But at this point, if somebody ever pissed me off in a playing at the park or in a rec league or a pickup game or something like that, this is pretty much what I would do. And he did it to other NBA players. So I think I would have loved to have watched it. That would have been better than any game in the regular season, I bet.
No, I know this scenario way too much. I've been the guy at the park that is trying harder than everybody else, and I'm like, all right, I'm in the better half of dudes out here. And then, you can only foul a guy so many times until he gets really mad. And then he just basically reminds you that he's 50 times better than you. And I feel like I've been Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins way too much in this scenario. I think everybody else can relate to this. It's just like a halfway decent basketball player. But I love to see this out of Jimmy Butler. I really do. So we'll talk a little bit about this season. Pieces have been moved, very important pieces at that. But I feel like myself and other just run-of-the-mill NBA fans already know what's going to happen. The only people that can beat LeBron is Golden State, and they'll do that and then cruise and beat an outmatched team in the Eastern Conference. Why do you think that this season might be different than what we've seen out of the last, 4?
Well, LeBron and the Lakers, I think they would be a better matchup for Golden State than the Rockets would at this point, just because Houston has nobody who can guard anybody. I mean, you're going to throw Brandon Knight, James Harden, and PJ Tucker out on the floor at the same time with Chris Paul. I just don't know how well it's going to work. So, and at this point, when they played Golden State in that 7-game series, they didn't put Clint Capella on the court a lot too, and now they're kind of forced to do that because they've lost so much depth and they're paying him so much now.
Oh, no, they got Melo.
And they got Melo, so the defense is bolstered now. But so I think the Lakers have a better chance of taking down Golden State than the Rockets would. I think the Lakers could definitely handle the Rockets too. I really think that coming together, that if things go right for the Thunder, if they have another year together, they can figure things out. If Roberson can just shoot 28% from the three-point line, I think they could really, really bother Golden State. I think that some of those guys from Oklahoma City could get in their head. We'll see, though. It's just I think Oklahoma City's going to be better than they were last year. They have a chance to be. I think, obviously, Los Angeles is better, but Houston, last year was their perfect storm, and they missed their chance. So I'm really looking at the Lakers and the Thunder this year.
So we'll go ahead and give a little bit of predictions for the NBA season. Fletch, I'm probably people are probably going to value your opinion a little bit more than mine. So who's going to be your MVP this season?
So I already talked about this on the show last week, but the last 2 or 3 years, GMs vote anonymously. When you vote anonymously, you're more likely to be honest. If you do an evaluation of your boss or a trainer at your place of employment, if your name's not attached to it, you're going to be pretty much brutally honest with him. And that's the same thing here. They voted LeBron James the MVP the past 2 or 3 years. He doesn't win it because of the shiny new toy, all that effect or whatever. So I think LeBron actually has a really, really good chance at winning it this year, especially if the Lakers flirt with 50 wins out west. I think he's going to have his name on that trophy. But if we're going to go with the trend that we've been seeing in the NBA, I think that trend is going to be Anthony Davis this year.
I do like that pick. Leighton, who do you have?
I picked my guy. I talked about stayed along Fletcher last week. For some reason, he did kind of shiny new toy effect. And I'm going to Jonathan Antetokounmpo. Looking back to 2015-2016, it was Steph Curry. He became the best shooter in the league. First guy really start making those 4 threes consistently. There was Westbrook out to a double. He won it. Last year, Westbrook did the exact same thing, but James Harden won it because he, just newer. And Giannis, he's long, he's athletic, he's exciting to watch. I think the Bucks could be a pretty good team this year in the East, and I think Giannis can be MVP.
All right, so I basically did mine off of just research over the past few years and who they've given MVPs to. Other than Derrick Rose, do you guys remember the last time that an Eastern Conference player not named LeBron won the MVP? And Derrick Rose only did it because he was basically the shiny new toy effect that was super just explosive. It's been a long time.
I don't know.
Since 2000. Oh, 2000.
2001. It was AI. AI won it. That is unbelievable.
Wow. That is.
So think about that. So I don't think that they're going to give it to an Eastern Conference player just based off of what we know in the past, and that they look at the Western Conference so highly now. I kind of wanted to get with a sleeper here, kind of go ballsy on the pick, and go with the shiny new toy effect. I think this guy's team's going to be a lot better. So it could potentially work in his favor with Nikola Jokic kind of flying under the radar. I do like him. I mean, 18, 10, and 6. Like, if a big man is able to go out there and get a triple-double and maintain that throughout the season, that would be like the ultimate shiny new toy effect. But I think that he would actually have to have the triple-double through the season. But I think
depends if they value the triple-double that year or not, though.
Yeah, that is true. But I think coming from a big man, like, that would just make everybody's jaw drop. Like, how is he able to do it? I think LeBron's going to win it, though. They're going to give it to him because he kind of is a new shiny toy, being in a Lakers uniform. Yeah. And I think it's going to be LeBron, which they could have given it to LeBron every single season he's been in the NBA. So it's no surprise. So most improved player. Fletch, who do you actually have at that?
Kyle Kuzma.
Kyle Kuzma? You think that he'll actually win the award, too?
Yeah, I do. I think he's going to put up some. I think he's going to flirt with the double-double all year. He's going to be an efficient scorer, and if he has worked as hard as everybody says he has, I think it's going to come to him.
I actually like that.
My pick for the award actually is Zach LaVine. He was on a few years ago. Came on to see him hard in a dunk contest. Then he tore his ACL. Kind of injured past couple of years, but this season for the Bulls, I think he had a full healthy season and plays really well for Chicago.
I'm actually going to go with another guy who really didn't get much time as a starter in college, and that's Miles Turner. So we saw Victor Oladipo kind of explode, and it was basically all because of his new workout regimen, and he had actually worked on his body more so than his game. And I think Miles Turner is going to be that guy who turns the corner. It's not going to surprise me this season if we look up at the end of the season of Miles Turner sitting there with 20 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks. So I think that, him working on his body, getting in better shape, he's obviously going to be able to increase his minutes. I feel like there's a lot of mediocre mouths to feed in Indiana, but I think that he's going to be one of the guys that they're going to have to lean on, and I think Miles Turner could potentially win that award. So this one's kind of obvious, so we're going to go with most improved team that did not get LeBron.
I think there are 2 teams that you could really look at, and then they both come from the Eastern Conference. The first one is the Toronto Raptors. Kawhi Leonard's way better than DeMar DeRozan. And then on top of that, Danny Green is a great shooter and a great defender, and he's better than OG Anunoby or whatever his name is. And the thing is, he started them for small forward last year, and he's still coming off the bench, so they've got a little more depth at the wing now. I think they are drastically improved. And then also, they didn't make any changes, but they just got everybody back. I'm going with the Boston Celtics. They're going to have arguably one of the best starting fives. Until Boogie comes back and proves that he is Boogie, they're going to have the best collective starting 5 in basketball. So if they have all those pieces together healthy, I think both of those teams most improved.
That's kind of surprising to hear you say that they have the best starting 5 until Boogie comes back. That's actually pretty interesting. Leighton, who's your most improved team that did not get LeBron?
I actually have 2 teams too. Kenny first going to pick the Raptors. I have them. And then I have the Phoenix Suns. I told you guys all last season, big things are happening. Then they go out and actually steal Mikal Bridges from the 76ers. Already number 1, signed Trevor Ariza, some better leadership in there. I think this is a team that's going to get the 8th seed in the playoffs.
That would be a huge turnaround if they got the 8th seed. I'm going to go with OKC. They didn't do a ton in the offseason, but they got Melo out of there, I think, which is going to be a huge improvement. Dennis Schroeder, he's not great, but he bolsters that backcourt a lot, and he's a very good player. And Andre Roberson, obviously back from injury. And whenever he was on the court with Paul George, they were the number 1 defensive combo in the NBA when they were on the court together. So I really like that. And then I look at this. I'm not even looking at Paul George and Russell Westbrook, which are the 2 obvious ones. But you look at the remainder of the team. Steven Adams, he's only 25. Jeremy Grant, he's 24. Dennis Schroeder, 25. Andre Roberson, he's 26. All these guys are getting better. They're going to be a year better, and I think that this Oklahoma City team is actually going to live up to expectations that we thought they would last season. So Eastern Conference champ, who do we have?
The more I look at these numbers, the harder it is for me to determine who's going to win the 1 seed, but I think it is going to wind up being the Boston Celtics. I think the Raptors, the more I look at them, I think just the better and better they are. I think this coach that they have for the Toronto Raptors is when you look at Indianapolis a few years ago, they just didn't extend Frank Vogel's contract, and they brought in Nate McMillan, and he's really done the same thing. He's brought defense first, and then he's brought a good pace of play. And I think that the system that they had in place worked, and they said they needed a new voice in there to kind of switch it up, and I think everybody was tired of hearing it, the same voice that is. I think the same thing is going to happen in Toronto. I think Dwayne Casey had a great blueprint. Masai Ujiri, the GM, I think he has a good direction for the team. I think they're just going to try to continue it, but have a new voice, bring in a couple new players, see if they can right the ship for one more year. But at the end of the day, Brad Stevens is going to do so much with that talent, and I just can't look past it. So I'm sticking with the Boston Celtics to win the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, me too. I'd be the Celtics. I mean, they went to Game 7 last year in the finals with Trey Rozier basically being almost an All-NBA point guard for a while. They get back Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. Drafting creating that talent. Jason Tatum, Jim Brown going to get better. I think Celtics will be the 1 seed. They're going to not walk through the conference, but they're going to get there pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree with you guys there with Boston. I mean, you know what you're going to get. If everybody's healthy, you know what you're going to get out of your veterans. But then the surrounding talent, like I talked about with OKC, like they are super young, so they are just a year better. I think that, Kyrie and Gordon Hayward is kind of a blessing in disguise being out last year if they do rebound and be healthy this year, just because those young guys did develop so much. I'm going with Boston. I think they're going to kind of cruise to it too. So the Western Conference champs, I think we're probably going to have a clean sweep as well, but where are you guys going with this?
Golden State. The Rockets got worse. I don't know if OKC is going to do it during the regular season. They could hit or they could miss. LA definitely is trending upwards. They have a lot of good pieces, but they're just not ready yet. So for that reason, I am going with the Warriors.
Yep, Golden State. Not only facing those two, they've also been in before. They've done it before. Actually, they can't do it again.
Yeah, I am going to make it a clean sweep. Golden State Warriors. Pretty obvious there. So, guys, your NBA champion.
I'm going with the Boston Celtics. Like I said, they have a better collective five when Boogie's out on the court together. I believe that the Golden State Warriors are going to be starting a lot of Damian Jones this year at center. He was the guy they drafted out of Vanderbilt a few years ago. A really talented player. He's been hurt and struggled, but they're going to throw him and Jordan Bell out there. Jordan Bell's a 6'9" guy who can't really shoot. So I think top to bottom, their starting five is going to be better. Even when Boogie comes back, it's going to be kind of a toss-up depending on how matchups and game flow go. But even on the bench, I think the bench for the Boston Celtics is better. You got Marcus Smart, you got Terry Rozier, you got the Morris twin. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And then I think Brad Stevens is a better coach too. So I think at the end of the day, Brad Stevens makes all those guys a letter grade better. And I think and then on top of that, their pick and roll defense is impeccable. They're a younger, healthier, fresher version of Golden State. Golden State almost lost to Houston last year in 6 games, and then they almost blew Game 1 against that awful Cavs team. So for that, I think the fatigue and everything's going to set in, and I think the Boston Celtics are going to be your NBA champion.
I'm going to go with the Warriors, actually. But that says me I am worried about the fatigue factor going into it, because they've played a lot of games now for 2 or 3 years in a row at this point, and interesting to me to see how they manage kind of like the in-season minutes and play and games played for all these players like Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, who have been hurt and, like I said, have a ton of miles right now on them over the past 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Golden State just because I'm a sheep, and I'm just going to go with what everybody else has said over the past few years and what I've seen. They're the best team until proven otherwise. I think Golden State, this will probably be their last year of just sheer dominance. Since we have Fletch in, we know we have some degenerate gamblers who are out there. Guys, in case you did not know, anytime Fletcher has ever just told me that he was dead set on something happening in the NBA, he has normally been right. He called the Houston Rockets beating the Golden State Warriors in 6 last year. He was one Chris Paul injury away. So right now, basically what you can bet on is the win totals. So Fletch, I want one win total over and 1 win total under. Let's start with the over. Who do you have?
I'm going to toot my horn again real quick. I called the offense struggling when Iguodala got hurt for Golden State in the postseason. I told you all that.
And the funny thing is, you were the only one that said that. Everybody else said it would be
no one in the world would think
liabilities.
that. Right. But and then on top of that, I called them losing one game to San Antonio too, which nobody else did. But Vegas is really spot on with these numbers. At first, I was big on the Boston Celtics win total. It was 50. As of today, it's 57.5 still. I'm still tempted to bet it, but the more I think about the Raptors and what they have together, it's just hard for me to sit here and say that they'll win more than 60 games. And at first I thought, well, Boston, they're a lock for 62 or 63 wins, and now I'm pumping the brakes on that. But I think one team that's a lock here, and you might think I'm a homer, but Indiana here is listed at 47.5 wins. They basically won that last year. LeBron's out of the conference. Toronto's still going to be good. I mean, it's not like they added it's not like they added Kawhi Leonard and kept DeMar DeRozan. So, and then Boston's still going to be there. Philly, if you recall, at the end of last year, Philly won like 16 or 15 games in a row to jump the Pacers in the standings. So the Pacers went from like almost a 3 seed all the way down to like the 5 seed or the 4 seed or something. So if that doesn't happen again and you lose LeBron, I definitely think the Pacers could flirt with 50 wins, 52 wins.
I definitely like both of those, whether it's the Celtics or the Pacers. I do like both of those. So one total for the under of wins. What would you bet on?
I've talked about this team. I think they could be good, but the thing is, they could miss, and they missed last year, quite a bit. And so Russell Westbrook, I'm going to take the over on the under on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Russell Westbrook has missed all the preseason. He had a kind of a minor surgery, something that went on. He hasn't played yet. He's still being reviewed, and they don't know how many weeks. He could miss a couple weeks in the regular season to start the regular season. Now, they had Dennis Schroeder, which is better than Raymond Felton was last year, but losing Russell Westbrook, you lose a lot. That's no doubt. And the main reason that I take the Thunder here is because their win total is at 50.5. The Lakers are going to be better. The Jazz are still improving. Houston, they do have some clear struggles, but they're going to put up a lot of points. And the thing is, if you put up a lot of points in the NBA, you can really pick on those teams that are tanking, especially towards the end of the season. So Houston is going to be a very good regular season team still. Golden State's going to be well. Denver's going to improve. It looks like Jimmy Butler's still going to stay out there in Minnesota for the time being. So with that, I'm going to take the Thunder as far as the over, just because their win total is 50.5, 51 games. So.
Okay. So, guys, there you have it. There's Fletcher's basically NBA breakdown. So, guys, if you're interested in anything that he had to say, be sure to be tuning in to Hump Day Hoops Hysteria every Wednesday. You'll get that type of knowledge, and even better, I really enjoy listening to it. I'll be honest about that. So, guys, we'll talk a little bit about our Saucy Six-Pack of games for this upcoming week in the NFL. We actually have a lot of games. Usually we struggle and we put a mediocre game on here. This week, there were too many. But we'll start it off with the Panthers at the Eagles. Sunday matchup. Where are we going?
Take the Eagles, come off a long week, and they had no sex still, so lock it in.
I'm going with the Eagles, too. Carolina's defense has been, not the best when it comes to traveling this year. I think they're kind of still banged up on defense a little bit. You saw a little bit what happened last Sunday, too. So for that, and the Eagles, I know standalone games, people kind of overemphasize that, and they had the Thursday night game, but I think the Eagles might be figuring things out, so I'm going to roll with the Eagles in this game.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Eagles. They did play on Thursday, so they do have some extra time of rest, extra time to game plan for Cam Newton. And the way to beat the Eagles is basically just throw the ball over the top of them. Their secondary is their only hole. And you look at Carolina, they are so run dominant, it's not even funny. They rely on a lot of runs from Cam Newton, designed runs. So I think that what Carolina does really well basically feeds into Philly's strengths. So I'm actually going with the Eagles. So guys, Bears, Patriots might be my game of the year. Where are you leaning in this matchup?
Patriots.
I hate to break it to you, but if Khalil Mack's not there and they aren't able to rush the edge, I think what they're going to do is they're just going to drop back a lot in shotgun, and they're going to use a lot of two tight end formations. They're going to mix up their running backs. I think they're just going to let Tom Brady sit back there and take what he can, and Bill Belichick is a mastermind. So I know Mitch has been hot lately, but I think Bill Belichick might have a way to figure him out.
So I think that if Khalil Mack is healthy come this week, because once Khalil Mack got hurt, all the Dolphins did was just really quick screen passes, got guys in space, and they just completely annihilated the Bears that way. I'm actually going to go with the Bears, hoping that Khalil Mack's healthy. I think Mitch Trubisky has finally he hasn't taken a huge leap, but he's taken the next step as a quarterback. He has been playing phenomenal, and we're one Jordan Howard fumbled ball on the goal line away from winning that game in Miami and just kind of running away with it. So I'm actually going to go with the Bears. The Vegas spread was actually closer than what I thought it was going to be, but I think that the Bears are going to win this game at home. So next game, tied atop the AFC South, we have the Texans and the Jags. Two teams that have been pretty underwhelming. So where are we going on this one?
Texans. Super Bowl still on.
Yeah, this is a tough game for me to pick. And professional athletes, when they get their asses beat, they show a sense of pride. And I think
we call that the Buffalo Bills.
And I think that's what's going to happen here with the Jaguars. They just got absolutely smoked by a mediocre Dallas Cowboys. I think they're going to try to come out and make a statement. So I think they do that at home here against the Texans.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Jags are going to win this game. And you hit it on the head. Whenever these professional athletes get embarrassed, like the Bills had the most embarrassing thing an NFL team could have, and that was a guy retire at halftime. What'd they do the next week? They came out and they beat the Vikings. And then we saw the Redskins just 2 weeks ago on Monday night get embarrassed by the Saints. What do they do the next week? Respond, win against the Panthers. I'm actually going to go with the Jags, and I think the Jags are going to come out to prove a point. Hopefully everybody's healthy, though. So next game, the Redskins actually lead the division by a half a game because they've had the bye week. But it's the Redskins, Cowboys. The game will be in D.C. Where are we leaning in this one?
Redskins. Still on the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Redskins. I think the Cowboys might do the whole mistake activity for achievement kind of thing. I think that they have been prematurely ordained as their division champs, and they got the Redskins got blown out against the Saints, and they looked really good last week here against the Panthers. So I'm gonna stick with the Redskins as well.
Yeah, unless the Cowboys get Conor McGregor to come sit in the booth with Jerry Jones for this week, I'm actually going to go with the Redskins as well. I think it's pretty similar to the Eagles and Panthers game. What the Cowboys do well feeds right into the Redskins game plan. So, pair of division leaders here. Saints at the Ravens. Who do we got in this one?
I'm going with the Ravens because Joe Flacco is a safe play.
Yeah, right. I'm going with the... here. I'm going with the Saints. Joe Flacco. The Saints have a good pass rush. Joe Flacco, the last time I checked, leads the league in batted balls at the line of scrimmage. So Joe Flacco, even though he is the very safe play, Leighton, he's going to be under duress. I think the Saints have too good of an offense matched with their defense. I don't think the Ravens are going to be able to keep up. So I'm going, even on a road game, I'm still going with the Saints.
Yeah, I think the Saints kind of had their get-right week for their defense last week, so I think they're going to continue that whenever they go play Baltimore. The Saints did have a bye week, so it gives them an extra week to game plan. I'm going to go with the Saints. So Sunday Night Football, first week that they were actually able to flex it. They were able to get the 49ers out of there, thankfully. And we have the Bengals at the Chiefs. I did not think that we would be seeing... I didn't think this would be a huge matchup week 1 come week 7, but who do we have?
I got to go get my charger real quick. Hang on.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Big bounce-back game.
I talked about standalone games. That's why I like the Chiefs here, too. Andy Dalton can't go into Pittsburgh to win. I don't think he's going to go into Kansas City and beat a better quarterback than Big Ben, so Chiefs.
Yeah, I think Chiefs, and I would not be surprised if this game isn't set in stone at halftime. I'm going with the Chiefs big. So, guys, it is our time to put the producer in the spotlight. Each week he goes out and he grinds. He watches probably 10 to 12 different movies on the big screen. I don't know how there's any movies left for him possibly to go watch as he's going to leave following this podcast and watch another. But, Leighton, what are you reviewing today?
1212 Pip's Entertainment Review. Sit on down for a movie to view.
I'm going to review A Star is Born. As Jake said, this will be real quick because got it going here. A Star is Born, starred Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. Written by Bradley Cooper, directed by Bradley Cooper. This movie is it's fucking excellent, guys. A little bit longer than I want it to be. Really easy to get emotionally attached to this movie. Basically, what happened is Bradley Cooper plays this, following a rock star. He's kind of just over it all. Has drug problems, all that kind of stuff. Sees Lady Gaga singing in the bar, falls in love with her, brings her on the road. She becomes famous, and then it goes through just a turmoil that he has to deal with. Excellent movie, excellent acting all around. Cooper does this great job in a total debut. This movie directly going to get Oscar nominations, but it's going to go 0 for 6, and here's why. Best Actor, Bradley Cooper, wasn't quite good enough for it. Best Director, Bradley Cooper, not going to beat Jamie Chazelle. Best Actress, not going to vote for Lady Gaga. Best Supporting Actor, Sam Elliott wasn't in it enough. Best Screenplay, if it gets nominated, the movie's a remake, a 1984 movie, won't get nominated. And Best Picture is going to lose to the movie I'm going to go see here in like 3 minutes, First Man. So, if this movie, though, regardless how all it's going to lose, gets 2.8 dips.
2.8 dips, wow, that's a ton.
This movie's really, really good.
That's kind of surprising. So you said that Lady Gaga is going to be nominated for Best Actress, and so this would be like an Oscar, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so doesn't Leonardo DiCaprio only have one?
Yes.
Would that not be just craziness if Kobe Bryant and Lady Gaga have as many Oscars as Leonardo DiCaprio?
I mean, is it outrageous that Kobe Bryant only had one MVP award?
Yes.
Okay, well then yeah, it'd be outrageous. But it's a person's voted thing. It's the same as any sports award.
That's crazy to me. So Lady Gaga knocks it out of the park.
She does a really good job in it. Yeah.
Wow. So just a little recap: Stars Born, 2.8 dips. That is one of the highest rated movies you've ever given on here.
It is.
So guys, any bold predictions for the week?
Red Sox clean sharp against the Astros.
I don't know how bold it is, but I think the Browns were going to get back in the win column.
I'm actually going to go with Purdue over Ohio State.
Bold.
Get that first marquee win under Jeff Brom, and I think things are going to head in the right direction for that team. So, guys, anything else before we wrap this bad boy up?
Make sure the Home Hoops Hysteria come at you this Wednesday.
All right, and on that note, for Drake, for Leighton, and our man Fletch from Hump Day Hoops Hysteria, Dippers, as always, stay saucy.